Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bourbon Note. I'm Greg.
I'm Ben.
And today, we're drinking bourbon.
Rye.
I'm sure it's some budget, bottom shelf. Why are we even doing this rye?
Do you want to see what it is?
What is it? Bring it on in.
We've got, bam, Thomas H. Handy Sazerac.
Oh, wait a minute.
All right, we've got a BTAC on the bar.
We do.
And we have Greg Ahrens to thank for setting up the purchase of this bottle. We did purchase this at retail, and that's always awesome when you can find a great
totally
bottle.
awesome.
And so he kind of facilitated that. So cheers, Greg. Thank you very, very much for helping this happen. We've never had this before.
I've never had it.
It is a rye.
Never actually seen it. I don't think I've even seen a bottle of it until...
This is actually the 2021 version.
Oh, wow.
So it's not the most recent one, the 2022. This
Never
is
seen that one
2023 right
either.
now, but they come out at the end of the year,
Yeah.
October-ish or whatever. So 129.5 proof. It is a rye. The primary grain in this, I read the stats on Buffalo Trace's website, Minnesota rye.
You're
So
kidding.
there's a Minnesota connection to this whiskey. So yeah, I'm very, very excited about this. I have had the normal Sazerac rye, but other than that, I haven't really had any.
So-
I haven't had the other Sazerac from BTAC.
Right. I have the entry level, the like $20 Sazerac, and it's fine, but
Yeah. I think this one's at 6.5 years, they say.
wow. 129 proof, like 129 and a half. That's a serious whiskey.
Yeah.
All right, I got to recalibrate my brain for a rye and a high
You know what's interesting is
proof rye.
you definitely get the rye vibes. It's got a very rich nose to it.
It does.
You get the rye vibes off of it, but it's not coming across. And I'm sure the mash bill is available. I'll try to maybe put it on the screen if I remember when I'm editing.
Okay.
I'm sure the mash bill is available, so I don't know what the percentages are, but it's got a nice balance.
Definitely getting like barrel spice, but also clove and earthy kind of almost leather kind of style.
But it has a nice balance of those and still the sweetness that you
Yeah,
would get on a
definitely.
bourbon, like the
Also-
caramels and the vanillas.
Wood sugar. I'm going for it.
All right, let's do it. Cheers.
Great density, viscosity.
Oh, wow.
Oh, a lot happening.
That's very different than I was expecting.
I'm getting orange, citrus.
There is a little bit of like that orange peel sort of vibe.
Definitely. Mint even. And I think the high. I'm guessing it's a high rye mash bill. You're almost getting.
Well, it's a rye whiskey.
but it's.
So you're saying it's not a 51%?
I don't think it's a
a barely legal rye?
one of the barely qualifying ryes.
Yeah.
I think it's higher than that. But a little bit of mint and orange, which is interesting.
I need to go in for a second sip here because
Definitely
that first one was definitely weird. It was good, but it was so different from the nose. All right, let's try this again.
Black tea, a little bit more on the nose.
Yeah. It's a weird, man, this is a weird whiskey. It's really good. Very, very
It's
much
great.
enjoying it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's got a great mouthfeel to it for 6.5 years. I mean, let's face it, it's not a very well-aged whiskey compared to,
Moderate.
Yeah. Compared to most other like limited editions
Sure.
or the rest of the BTACs, 6.5 years is a fairly average aging for a whiskey.
For normal bourbons. And
Yeah, for a
other-
normal bourbon, or a normal rye.
Yeah.
But it's got a great mouthfeel to it. It comes across as much more well-aged than it is.
I would agree.
It's got some nice barrel spice.
But it doesn't have the astringent wood
It's not tannic.
bitterness.
Yeah.
The bitterness from the wood tannins.
Yeah, it doesn't have that
exactly.
for sure. I need to just keep drinking this. I don't know what's...
This really falls into the whiskey geek.
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on. I mean...
Definitely does not drink almost 130 proof.
There's a lot of spice, and there's a lot of different types of spice, and they all work well together. But I definitely noticed like the ethanol spice. Like it's not low proof, that's for sure. But there's also the wood spice and the rye spice, but they work well together.
It's almost like buttery a little bit. Mm-hmm. Or like a rye bread, like a buttered rye bread or something like that.
Yeah.
A little bit earthy, a little bit of fruit notes to it. Mm-hmm. Man, there's a lot going on here.
A lot.
So we just did on our, at the time of recording this, and our most recent live stream, we did some Stag Juniors. Those are like 131 proof, all the ones that we did.
Correct.
So pretty close in proof to this.
Sure.
This does not have nearly that like dark, harsh sledgehammer effect that those have. This is what I mean by when I said it drinks a lot easier than the 130 proof. Like this is not a punch in the face.
So
it's bold.
I think it has maybe more of the spices, like the rye spice and maybe the wood spice, than the Stag Junior, which had more of the darker flavors, like the
dark
molasses,
dark molasses, yeah.
Because this is much higher and like brighter type flavors, but still aggressive.
Which is interesting because sometimes a rye whiskey can come across aggressive with the spice.
Definitely.
That can be off-putting to some people. Mm-hmm. And when you're first getting into it, if you're so used to bourbon and the sweetness of bourbon, not that rye is without its sweetness, but it can come across as a little aggressive. So when you have a high-proof rye whiskey, you might be inclined to think that it's going to be aggressive and spicy. And this one really isn't. It's just nice and well-rounded. It's changing every time I smell it and every time I drink it.
Yeah, I agree. It is in that category, though, at 130 proof, where once you have several sips, you start to lose a little bit of the nuance.
It's so weird. It's just, it has like there's the rye spice and all the quintessential rye flavors. There's some light clove, some of that citrus peel we talked about.
Tad vanilla. Yep.
A little bit of that vanilla that, bourbon tends to have caramel as the dominant note for the sweetness. I tend to find vanilla, and I think you do too, on rye as the dominant sweet note. But it also has those really nice caramely, brown sugary sweet notes that you get from a bourbon, and they're just walking right next to each other perfect. Just walking hand in hand.
Yeah.
Perfectly. It's, we've talked about sometimes they're like the flavors are fighting each other.
Yep.
That is not happening on this at all.
I think that's probably the greatest thing about it is there's a ton of flavors and they all work so well together.
And the proof works well together and the barrel spice works well with it.
Yep.
Just a well-rounded, there's a few different things all going on and they're all turned to the same volume and they're all just perfectly mixed. Yeah, this is really good.
It is really good.
Yeah, this might be my new favorite rye.
It could be.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
It's going to be a long time before I get another bottle of it.
That's true.
So, all right, well, this has been Thomas H. Handy Sazerac on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben.
I'm Greg. Till next time. See you next time.